Hello, everybody, and welcome to the OCRP iRacing ARCA series here tonight at Michigan. You remember everybody from the Cup Series from last season. That's who you're seeing here tonight. And we are at Michigan, and we are here for the FRN Irish Hills 200. And that is brought to you by Flat Out Racing Network, the people behind all of the graphics and everything you see here on our broadcasts. My name is Jeff Favignano. I'm joined by Mr. Joe Cortez. I almost said I was Jode, but I am Jode. I'm joined by Mr. Cortez.
Well, I mean, depending on how the night goes, you might get Jode. We'll see. Just remember, it's not weird if we don't look each other in the eye.
There you go. Always has the puns. Always here for some funs. That is Mr. Joe Cortez. And I got to say, I think tonight we're in for a good treat. You know, moving away from Irwindale, having the short track, having the kerfuffle at the end. We do have to talk about those race suspensions and things that happened following that. Wes Graham not charged. What is this, court? No, he will have a race suspension, and also the 48 of Nick Sargent will have an EOL penalty going into this race tonight, Joe.
Unfortunately, things happen at the end of a race. You know, tempers flare, people get emotional, and you'll have that. You'll have that in big-time racing. But as I mentioned at the end of the last night's broadcast, the big thing to remember is there's no money on the line. There's no cars being torn up. There's no new pieces. There's no expenses as a result. This is just pixels. Nobody dies. It's just iRacing. And for some, it's a very difficult lesson. But for others, chaos creates opportunity. And for the entire field out there, right now, 19 drivers and counting, there's a lot of opportunity on the line tonight. 2 Mile, Big D Oval. Don't take that out of context, please. Coming around this beautiful, the beautiful track, a mirror image to the one in Fontana, California. These guys are going to be able to basically run this like a Talladega or a Daytona, flat out all the way through, keep their foot in it, keep the hammer down, and when it's all said and done, we're probably going to have a new winner tonight, and it literally could be anybody in the field.
That is very true, and I'm looking at the standings right now, and one of the big ones that is going to suffer tonight will be Wes Graham after getting that penalty and having a race suspension after his conduct on the radio. We see here Leonard Fodorero right behind him, total points 251-1. Fodorero will only have to gain 2 points on him to take the lead in the points. Then we have Nick Sargent, Austin Johnson, Jason Lance, and have a look at Lance there. Lance running second in qualifying right there. And how about Chavez back in action here tonight? We're going to get your starting grid here for you very soon as they are starting to populate pit road.
The man in the myth, the legend, Chavez back in action. Good to see him back as we've got about 6 minutes. We've got 6 minutes left in qualifying. My clock's frozen. Is your clock frozen?
Yeah, it should be frozen because they advanced the time. So we're now going to go off of session time to lap counter, which will be 100 laps around this place tonight. And have a look here. Weather, 80 degrees, but how about that track temperature? 117, not as high as we've seen in the last race at Irwindale. They were, struggling with 127 degree track temperature. Here, 117. So that's a good 10 degree difference right there. However, the cars will still be slick. And we know going into this, everybody's on a fixed setup. These cars in the long run are going to push. They're going to have a tight setup to them. So we'll keep an eye out on how everybody's going to strategize if we stay green.
Well, plus something to consider, with 117 degree track temperature, it's going to make this track a little grippy, which will make tires a bit of a more bigger deal here than normal. Because it's warmer, because it's a little more melty, a little bit more grippy, those tires are going to have to be monitored throughout this race. And, and it could come down later on in this race to who has the better tires and who's able to manage them better at the end of the day. As we've talked about several times, races are won and lost on pit road. And if you're able to be smart, navigate the race, and work your way through, it may be another case where pit road is going to be either your best friend or your worst enemy.
Well, they've got them all fired up on pit road right now. You can see Chavez in the 51, unsponsored car, no sponsorship on that car, just a white Impala there, and it's got the 51 on the side of it. I think it actually looks pretty darn good and smart. But how about that 77 of Kyle Carpenter? Beautiful looking car, smoking the Bandit, and he's got that Pontiac Trans Am front end on there. Looks really nice. We'll get your starting grid here to you next. How about it? Starting on row number 1, taking the pole tonight, Chavez Essery, which is back to Chris Essery here. It's what his old name was, but we go with Chavez. And Jason Lance.
On the inside of row number 2 is a 77 of Kyle Carpenter. On the outside of him, the man who would be king, Leonard Fodorero, starts position 4.
Row number 3, Ryan Potter in the 60 car. Outside of him, the 78 of Mitchell Calvin.
James Hilton will start on the inside of row number 4. On the outside of him, the 87 of Charles Gray.
Row number 5, Jonathan Orendorff having those issues with his PC. Thought he wouldn't make this race tonight. Here he is right now. Good to see him back in action. Rick Evans of the 7 on the outside.
Just outside the top 10 is the 4 of Robert Bearder. On the outside of him, the 74 of Ryan Pornstash Steinhoff.
Row number 7, Zachary Guzman, known as Guzzy, and the outside, Austin Johnson in the 21.
The 81, the man, the myth, the legend. You know him well, folks. Brandon Buggs will start position number 15. On the outside of him in 16th, Nick Gould in the 14.
Row number 9, Alex Reno and Tyler Schultz.
Rounding out the top 19 will be Siv Ryan in the Gamer Sups. Yeah, I finally got it right. Gamer Sups, number 12.
All right, we're about to take the green flag here, and that was Joel Brown and Joe Ogle behind them. Did not take times, and we are waiting for the flagman to happen here. Green flag is going to be in the air at Michigan.
Scattered start to begin 100 laps around the Giant D as let's get started. Chavez Essery taking no chances leading them, but here comes Smokey and the Bandit. He's hot on your tail, and he ain't going to rest till Chavez Essery is back in jail.
Oh, I love that pun. That is beautiful off of turn number 2. Here we go down the backstretch. You can see Michigan's one of those tracks that we'll see similar things to what we saw at Pocono. These cars very hard to draft. The drivers complaining about it, saying it's really hard to get this car into a draft. It doesn't matter. It's hard to pass. I think we're going to see that all night here at Michigan.
Tonight's race is going to be a lot of fun just for that fact. It's going to be difficult. You're going to have to pass, make your choices quickly. You're going to have to pass quickly and try to figure out who you can work with to get through. Almost 5 wide going into turn number 1. Eastbound and down. Kyle Carpenter leads him into the turn.
Lots of action all around the track right now, but we're watching the 3 wide action for position number 2. They're going to figure it out a little bit. Car getting squirrely back there. That was the 74 Steinhoff. He is racing Brandon Buggs very, very, very tight off of turn number 2.
Buggs is going to fight tooth and nail for every position in that Liquid Death Ford, trying to do everything he can. Has he earned that sponsorship yet? Because if not, they definitely owe him like a case of water or something.
I think they definitely owe him a case of water, but it's not a Ford. So actually, he's still rolling the Chevy.
Oh, wow. Okay, never mind then. In the Chevy Impala Super Sport, he will continue to hold off the rest of the field. Behind him, lots of 2 wide, 3 wide, 4 wide driving around, or no, not 4 wide, a lot of 3 wide driving around this track. That just shows you how wide it is. If you can imagine it, you can run it here.
We're watching right there off of turn number 2. That is Carpenter out front right now, and Essery's falling back to 3rd, but I was watching the 67 of Leonard Fodorero having some difficulty maintaining the car off of turn number 2. He got very loose, almost wrecked it, but man, what an incredible save off of turn 2. And are you surprised? It's Leo.
It is Leo. If anyone can do it, it's him. Remember, 1 point away from taking the points lead on the league, and it would not surprise me if he gets it tonight. I feel like the entire field is going to get a clue quick if he starts making moves to get up front.
Right on board with Jason Lance, and Lance has not had the season he's wanted. He's been extremely fast in practice and even in qualifying, but when it comes to putting the race together, it's been very difficult for him to do. And we can see right here, getting into the draft with the 77, not a lot of suction. They were complaining about that at Pocono, down into turn 1, 188 miles an hour, Joe.
Not a lot of suction, a lot of side drafting though, and that can hurt your opportunity to move forward. The more you side draft in these cars, which iRacing is programmed to do, the harder it is to make those move forward. You try to take some of the air off that guy beside you, and that opens doors for people behind you. So if you're behind, you're not necessarily looking for that long draft, that long train that you would normally see at super speedways. You're simply looking way ahead of you, that 4 cars ahead of you, seeing what they're doing. You're not going to make a move till you see 2 guys side by side.
Yeah, and that's just smart. You know, you're just going to have to wait for those moments to happen and to make those passes come into play. Have a look at that Camry behind Calvin right here. That is indeed Mr. Charles Gray. We've seen great things out of Charles Gray this season, and here he is right now getting up in the mix with a new paint scheme.
Good old cold bore with the Dubby machine, or Toyota Camry. Look at that, very beautiful machine. Meanwhile, back up front, it's eastbound and down, rolling up and trucking for Kyle Carpenter. He's in front, but Jason Lance, the icing machine, or normally in the icing machine, now in that Ratfink. What is that? Are those hot rod monsters? Is that a hot rod monster?
I believe so. I believe that is. I love
that. That is retro. I love it.
Yeah, very retro.
He wants to put the ice on Smokey up there, and he will do so in turns 1 and 2. Taking first place is a crossover coming.
Almost 3 wide off of turn number 2. That's Robert Beer there in the 4 car, still throwing it way prehistoric style back to the dinosaurs. It's ridiculous every time I see it, but rawr. But yeah, behind him, how about Brandon Buggs moving up now? Well, he's had a start in 15th today, but right now looking at 11th. He's gained 4 spots.
Brandon Buggs is one you can never count out. You can never discount him in any race, no matter where he's at. Bay Area Buggs, he's one that's always going to be in the mix. He's always going to be in the conversation somewhere. So no matter where he is on track, he's someone you have to keep an eye on. It's no secret that he's a fan favorite just because of that. He's a strong driver, and if he can make a move, he will. But he's also smart enough to know that he doesn't have to force it. He can let it come to him at this track.
Speaking about, being smart, we saw him getting off of turn 2. He had such a run on Johnson, even with the little bit of, draft that was there, and you heard him jump out of the throttle. You're going to see guys that don't want to run somebody over. It's like Daytona and Talladega. You have to roll out of your throttle or you're going to run them right over.
And that's something nobody wants to do. You cannot afford that out here. Again, it's a big, wide track, but that also means plenty of opportunities for you to get into traffic, get mixed up with somebody else, and ultimately wreck your car multiple times and wreck others along the way. We're right around the rear bumper of Lance in the 86 machine, seeing just how close Smokey can get all on that bumper. He knows they're thirsty up in first place. He wants to deliver that cold Coors Banquet beer to victory lane tonight.
And you can see those 3 cars out front right now. They've got almost a good 2-second pull from the second group back there by Chavez and company. And they're pulling away, and that has something to do with the drafting package. I think that, those guys are running really close together, and in a single file lane sometimes, they're going to start pulling away from the second pack that is formed.
And I know in the beginning we talked about draft doesn't matter. Draft absolutely does matter on this track. The problem is it's way too easy to side draft the person beside you. So now you've got to get on the radio. You've got to talk to spotters. You've got to talk to everybody else. Hey, let's line up. Let's stop fighting amongst ourselves. Let's get lined up. Let's start challenging those guys up front and see what we can do. The more you see this right here, between the 60 and the 21, with Johnson and Potter right there battling for position number 7, the more you see that, the harder it's going to be for them to move forward, to get the momentum they need to challenge the guys up front. And while that's bad news for everybody else, it's great news if your name is Lance, Carpenter, or Fodderero.
What a beautiful paint scheme that Mitchell Calvin's rocking right there, the Fanatec McAfee electric car. And it's got the pink on it for breast cancer awareness for the month of October. And I love the chrome pink numbers on the side of that car. It looks really, really nice. And we saw him pulling a slide job almost on the 87 off of turn number 2. He slid right off his nose. And that's the thing about, Michigan. You get tight, you're driving the car in deep, and then you got to slide up eventually. It's a matter if the guy behind you is going to give you that room.
And the hardest part for these guys is the older the tires get, the colder the more worn the tires get, the more they're going to be sliding around, the tighter they're going to be, and it's going to make for some very, very hairy situations.
And Brandon Buggs electing to take the outside lane, giving plenty of room to Orendorff. And we talked about Jonathan Orendorff earlier, one of those drivers that had PC issues. Remember, this is sim racing. They deal with these things. He had problems with the CPU and the motherboard. Got it together. And here he is again once again at Michigan.
You know, the funny thing about sim racing is that you don't deal with things like, you know, engines going down or pieces and parts going down or not having enough tires. You deal with PC issues, you know, and that is effectively the same thing. Now, again, the nice thing, like I mentioned before, is for the most part, you're not going to lose a motherboard racing. You're not going to lose a CPU racing if you do it right. But when they do strike, it can create some strife. But glad to see him on track. Glad to see him going out here, and he has still got an opportunity to win with only 14 laps being scored.
I see some damage on the right side of Mitchell Calvin's car. Definitely found the wall, and we talked about, you know, we're lap 14 right now. It doesn't take a whole lot of time before things starting to fall apart, and you find yourself pushing in the car, and you find that wall.
I mean, Jeff, that just happens when you run the big hard D around. So things are going to fall apart. Things are going to break loose. And there it is, first caution out.
Yeah, I saw these three. Nick Gould, Civ Ryan, Joel Brown popped up on that. We're going to find out what just happened right when that happened, when the caution flew. It was off of turn number 2. It looks like it was right in front of them, actually. And it looks like it might have been James Hilton. I think it was actually going... It's Joel Brown. Joel Brown in that 43 was the one that got the worst of it here. So here's off a turn. We just talked about car getting tight. Off of turn 2 right there. They make contact. James Hilton in the 89 finds the wall there a little bit. Tries to save the car. The 43 of Joel Brown trying to save the car back and forth. And right there is the death wiggle of the ARCA car. And you see it got the best of him.
It absolutely did get the best of him. That's just a racing incident right there. That was not intentional. There was nothing foul about that. That's just, you know, that is, again, as I was saying earlier, that's one of the challenges of running the big D. Those rubbers wear out way too easy underneath you. You go slipping and sliding, and next thing you know, you've got an accident.
Well, everybody's going to come down on pit road here. No surprises. And Jason Lance, what an incredible run he's had so far. It's going to lead him down. And we'll see where everybody ends up here. Some guys, maybe after lap 15, I'm thinking, Joe, we're going to see some 2-tire stops here.
Maybe 2-tire stops. I'm guessing the majority, though, are going to take 4 because they know just how valuable tires are going to be. Let's follow along down on pit road, see who's taking what.
And you can see how displaced the pit road is here. You see where Chavez got into his pit stall and how long it is all the way down to the line. Now they only have to race to the green, and there it is. Ryan Potter taking 2 tires, and he will take the lead away. Bold strategy. Do you think it'll work out?
The gamble is early, but if you're going to gamble, now is the time to do it, I think. This is definitely the time to roll the dice and see what happens. We're not too far away from Caesars over in Windsor or MGM Grand down in Detroit. So, hey, not a bad time to make that move and see what happens. I think it's a little too early to see, but that could put Potter on a different pit schedule than everybody else. And if that does, that could be a move that benefits him later on in the race.
And as they come back around to the line, we'll be able to figure out what's going on. And I saw somebody said, hey, you know what? They think that I have you on mute and that I don't get your jokes and I don't find them funny. I do. I just try to be I try to put my professionalism right here for you when it needs to happen. But it's, yeah. The thing is, you know what? I have I can do that. I have a mute button. I can mute myself if I laugh or if I cough or something. Not that I don't find you funny, Joe.
Hey, Chad, is he done talking yet?
You wouldn't know.
I just see this little thing light up green. I don't actually hear him. Nah, we love doing this, Jeff. You know, yes. We've been doing this now for 3 years now, plus or minus.
Yeah, I guess it's been about 3 years.
Yeah, and we keep coming to the same party, and that is in no way a bad thing.
Not at all. 2x2 lights out on the pace car. Will be green flag racing next time by. And I think we're going to see those kind of self-spins happen after, 10 laps or more on these cars. But sometimes, you know what? Things get jumbled up. We look at restarts in the past, especially at Michigan. You're going to be right next to guys. It's easy to make those mistakes off of turn 2 when everybody... Because when you go green, now you're on the Geico restart zone. Now you're on the leader going. Now you get a good run. You got to outbrake everybody into turn 1. Who's going to lift? Because track position matters. Who's going to lift too early? And when you make those mistakes, you might find yourself in another caution.
Who's going to lift too early? And moreover, who's going to coming out of the turn way too hot? These turns are deceptively tall, although this track races a lot flatter than it looks. So, look for those guys to get a little bit overconfident, especially the ones up front who only took 2 tires. That could hurt them as the tires warm up and they slowly start making their way through the field. Pace car down on pit road. We're back to racing in just a second.
Yep, Jason Lance, not the control car. It's the blue car on the outside. There he goes to the Geico restart zone. Ryan Potter starting everybody out. Green flag back in the air at Michigan.
Green flag flies and Potter gets a huge lead, hits the loud pedal, and gets the jump straight ahead. Behind him, they are fighting side by side for position number 2. Oh, no, take that back. Almost 4 wide going into turns 1 and 2.
And watch Jason Lance here with a crossover move. He's going to have help from the 51 of Chavez Essery. And he'll go side to side with a 67 here down into turn number 3.
Side by side, they continue to run as hard as they can. Going into the turn, who's it going to be? That is the question that we're all looking to answer. It looks like it's going to be an advantage for the 67.
We were talking about draft and how much it matters. At Pocono, that wasn't the case with the setup, but here I'm seeing something totally different when it comes to the draft because we saw 3 cars on the outside able to power by guys that just didn't have enough help.
And again, you're going to see a little bit of that as they side draft back and forth as they try to figure out where they want to run, how they want to run. We're just not even a fifth of the way through this race. We're not even fifth of the way complete of this race. These guys are still shaking down the cars. They're still trying to figure out how they want to move, and they're still trying to figure out how side draft is going to affect them down the line. Now, speaking of side draft, we have a challenge for the lead.
Yep, Leonard Fodorero made a great move off of turn 4, got a good run out of there, and here he goes, slingshotting past the 60 of Potter, seeing what Lance is going to do, the 86. He's going to drop down and help him.
And now is where the alliances start to form as we have a new leader. Lenny Fodorero giving the entire field a clue out there as he takes the lead, scoring lap 20.
And what can you say about Fodorero? What just an incredible talent when it comes to sim racing. We're seeing that happen here. 77 really tight with the 51. They're going to make moves. The 60 of Potter in the wall.
Oh, then there you go. The 2 tires, I told you, they would come back to haunt him. It would be a risk. And there it goes. He just got too tight. Didn't have any help from those outside tires, and he will hit the wall hard. He will drop like a stone back through the field, get caught up behind that dinosaur car and in front of the 20 of Jason Orndorff.
But good on him. He was one of the guys that was going to try it, Somebody has to try 2 tires and see where they end up, and obviously, that is not the case here at Michigan. Out front, almost 3 wide for second.
Almost 3 wide for position number 2. We should be 3 wide as they come to the start-finish line. Fodorero not worried about the side draft bothering him, but now it looks like the low line's starting to get a move going on their own, and it could be Jason Lance trying to ice out the field once again.
This is the thing I love about Michigan, how spread out the cars get, 1, but 2, how wide you can get. This is a very wide racetrack. You have a lot of room when it comes to making decisions, and we see the 51 of Essery, not a stranger to making moves here at Michigan and getting it done, and right now made a very smart move off of 4, which pushed him into a position where he was able to draft with the 67, and now he is fighting the 86 of Lance for second.
Meanwhile, Chavez Essery continues to run position number 2, way down on the low side. That car's trying to look for something to happen. Let's ride along the hood of Bay Area Bugs here in the 81 Liquid Death Chevy Camaro Super Sport. You can see just exactly how spread apart they are, how far they are, as the 4 of Bearder gets a little bit loose, gets the wiggle, and will drop back in the field just a spot, maybe 2, as he figures it out. Low side struggling, while the high line continues to be the place to be. Now here he comes on the low side.
Yep, and that's what we saw there in the 4, man. You get tight into the corner and the car gets snapped loose off. That's just been a problem with, having a fixed setup. Everybody here on this track has the exact same setup. There's nobody with any advantages when it comes to that. And when you see these guys fighting as hard as they are with the car, they're all doing it. It's a matter of who can figure it out better than the other guy.
2 things that can be adjusted on these cars. Number 1, you can adjust the brake bias. Number 2, you can adjust the steering ratio, and that's it. Other than that, this is basically iRock style racing. Everyone has the same car, everyone has the same setup, and everyone is simply doing whatever they can with this car to make it work. Chavez Essery back up front, back as your leader, leaving Lance and Fonterero in his dust.
Yeah, he made such a great move, and Chavez just knows Michigan very well. He was able to dice through those cars and made a good decision. Hey, to ride on the outside line, maintain that momentum. You had Lance on the bottom stuck by himself. Nobody was going with him there for a while, but now he's going to challenge on the inside of the 51 down into turn number 3, and we'll see how everything pans out off of 4.
As soon as we say the lead changes once again. Jason Lance, now your leader. And I think you said it very well right there, Jeff. When you're riding the Big D, momentum is a big thing you've got to keep in mind. Just throwing it out there.
I'm watching right back here, and that's Brandon Buggs. Talk about starting 15th. He's up to 7th right now, Joe. He's in the top 10. And he gets turned by the 21. Hard hit. Lots of damage. Commentator's curse comes out and bites us in the rear. And there you go. Another hit right there. He's going to have to bring that down on pit road. And he's probably going to have to tow it, actually, which is not going to help his matters at all here. We're going to find out what just occurred. But, man, that was a hard crash off of turn number 2. And we're going to find out what just happened. I think talk about number 2. Somebody might have done that in their pants right before that happened. Because you see right here, the contact. It's one of those things where everybody is really close together. Let's get a different angle on that. You see the 81 pushing up the track a little bit, but you need the 21. Actually, you know what? I think that might have been some netcode. It was very close. That I will say.
Brandon boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the Irish hills of the valley here in Brooklyn, Michigan. Terrible incident for him. Good news is he still has 2 quick repairs in there. One he's going to have to burn right now to get that towed back to pit road. The Liquid Death Machine basically cheating death with that one. I'm not sure if it may have been a little netcode. It may have been a little bit of the predictive model, giving Bugs a little bit of help. What I think happened is I think a spotter just made a mistake, and Bugs simply went up thinking it was clear, thinking he had the room. He did not. And unfortunately, that's big time racing here in Michigan.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when we watched that back, you could see the 21 of Johnson was just, he was like on rails on. He was Union Pacific out of turn number 2, and the 81 did come up into him. You could just see him just barely move up, but that's all it takes is making that small mistake, moving up just that much to where you make contact, you get pit maneuvered straight into the wall on the outside of 2, and that's what happened.
How many tire sets do they have tonight, Jeff?
That's a good question. I'm really not sure. It's either 4 or 5, but I would imagine probably the latter, maybe 5. I could be completely wrong about that. They change it up sometimes.
So I'll go back and look here in a second, but let's assume it's 5 sets of tires. You're now, for those who have come down pit road, you're now on your second, and you're only a quarter of the way through this race. If things keep going the way they are, in theory, You could come down every 25 laps and get new tires, which would not be a bad thing, but now tire management comes into play. Now you have to start gambling. You have to start figuring out your strategy. Do I come down every time there's a caution? Do I try to save some for the end? How do I make this work? How do I figure this out? So now, not only are we looking at when we come down pit road, but what do we take and how do we manage what we have for the remainder of this race?
Well, James Hilton stayed out, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be a wave around because he didn't come down on pit road when the leaders did, but he's going to come down this time, so he'll give up those positions right now. And Chavez Esri will be our leader, but behind him, how about Jason Lance having a great run tonight? You know, started strong in second, and we've seen him have some issues falling back, but right now I think having that track position has been key, and he's able to maintain second right now. He's doing a good job.
I mean, let's be honest, you know, possession is 4/5 of the law. And if you possess that track position as the lights go off and we go back to double file for green flag racing, if you have the track position, it's a matter of defending it as opposed to keeping it, as opposed to trying to fight for it and try to make it up down the line. So the best thing you can do on a track like this, in a move like this, is do whatever you can to stay up front and stay within striking distance of the leader.
Well, I'm going to take this time to thank all of our viewers here on twitch.tv/jfavignano watching live right now. It's not a interactive chat stream, and we appreciate you watching the broadcast here. And also over at Favignano Live when you watch it over there as well. Thank you for tuning in and keeping an eye on what this group is doing, because we've seen nothing but great racing out of these drivers tonight, and I am more than proud, Joe.
All these drivers always put on a good show for us. These drivers put on a good show for all the viewers, all 246 of you here at twitch.tv/jfavignano, and the handful of you over on YouTube at Favignano Live. You know what? Let's hear it, chat. I want to see, for those, I'm watching Twitch right now. For those on Twitch, let's hear who your picks are. Next caution flag, I'm going to go through, and we're going to give some shout outs to some people giving their picks.
The 51 of Esri in the Geico restart zone. Green flag back in the air.
Green flag flies one more time. And here we go. Chavez Esri with the big move to get up front. And now 3 wide for position number 2. The 87, the 67 will cut it to 2x2 down into turns 1 and 2.
Man, Fodera makes those moves look so easy. 3 wide. You have to time it just right so you don't get a black flag before you get to the line. And he did exactly that, and he's maintaining that momentum forward. But the top lane right now, 87, 86, and 77, seem to be doing well. The 87 gets loose, and here comes the 67 off his nose. He's very tight, but now he's got the draft with the 51.
Single file, the top 5 go. Everybody else 2x2 across the front, across that start finish line. That's all, folks. As we continue to keep going around the track, your leader continues to be Chavez Esri in the 51, but there's a lot of hungry sharks behind him.
There are, and I'm following the 55 right now because you need to change your paint. It has been way too many races. You have not fixed your paint. Come on, Ogle. You're killing us. That's all I got to say.
Okay. S3 up front. Rodorero in position number 2. And it looks like Carpenter is trying a very, very inconvenient line down there. He's almost trying a line you would see at Iowa, or a line you would see at Kansas, where you use the front apron to make the move and try to get around this track a little bit faster. I don't know that it helped him a whole lot as he tries to make that low line work, but it's definitely worth a try at this juncture.
Side by side with the 87 is Charles Gray. And how about Gray having a great day? Mapoa didn't know it. He's on the outside of the 77, and he's driving like he's in heaven.
Let's go back now to around Joe Ogle with that messed up car and the others around him. Again, 2x2 as the 20 machine in that I guess that would be a tribute to Tony Stewart, the man, the three-time champion and former owner of Jeff's favorite driver's car. Jonathan Orndorff back there. Great moves by him to slowly wig his way around the field and not let traffic get around him. And now the 55, or at least the 55, I think it is, of Joe Ogle, who can tell that paint scheme, he's going to start making some moves and try to shake him off a little bit. Low line looks like the place to pass, but high line is where the speed is.
And I know we're giving Joe a lot of crap here tonight, but he does need to hear it. Joe Ogle, that is. But how about Joe Ogle, man, running in the top 10 right now after such a up and down season of just battling in the back. Here he is in the top 10, so really happy to see it.
Joe, as much crap as we give him, he's a great driver. He's smart. He's a lot of fun to be around. So glad to see him having a great night out there. Although he may want to talk to Tony Wilson and try to maybe get that fixed. You know, we got a guy. Meanwhile, update on Bugs. Still being credited 2 laps down. I think he's still on the field. Yes, he is. He's going to be looking for some yellow flags here to try to get back on the lead lap.
Yeah, he's stuck 2 laps down, and just ahead of him is James Hilton in the 89. He is 1 lap down. They're the only drivers that are laps down. Siv Ryan in 19th right now on the tail of the field. So 19 cars on the lead lap as they run.
19 cars on the lead lap, 21 in total, as Fodorero now takes the lead. Whose clues? It's Fodorero's clues in that number 67 machine. He will take the field from Lance, Essery, and Gray, all behind him. Top 5, and Carpenter rounds out the top 5.
Right on board with Fodorero here down into turn 1. You see the speed that he has into the corner, and right now he has to make that move on 89 of James Hilton, the lapped car. So he will not be a factor, but now it's going to be 3 wide behind them, and that's going to make things a little bit more difficult.
Well, it's going to make it more difficult on those 3 behind him. As we ride on that back bumper of the 67 of Fodorero, you saw him get quite the boost as those guys kept side drafting off each other. Chavez Essery comes away in position number 2. Gray, Lance, Carpenter still your top 5, but Fodorero, the big beneficiary of that, as he's got a quarter second now on the rest of the field.
Yeah, and the question is, if you look at the blimp here, you'll see the 67 and then Brandon Bugs all the way back here at the line. So he's not in a position to go down another lap. He's still 2 laps down, and that's now James Hilton as well, 2 laps down. So back out front, you've got Fodorero, but we have a challenger. Actually, the person that's falling down the totem pole right now is indeed that 86 of Jason Lance.
A challenger has arrived, and it looks like it's going to be Chavez Essery. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind, too. Some of those, although they try to stay out of the way and let the leaders pass, let the leaders do their race, the big thing to keep in mind is those lap cars can act like a pick. They can act like an anchor for those lead cars. All it takes is one of them to be in the racing lane, and next thing you know, they're forced to slow down. They're forced to fight to get that position or stay on the lead lap in the lap car's case, and that opens the door for everybody behind him. In just that 1 lap, Essery made up 1/10 of a second, and now he's within striking distance of Fodorero.
Watching Zachary Guzman, he's running 11th right now, having a good run there, now falling back to 12th. He is fighting for that 11th position from the 60 car just ahead of him. He was doing really well and then got loose off a 2 right there, but good to see Guzman almost to the top 10, having a good run tonight. But up front right now, look at that. Just ahead of Joe Ogle is in 7th place Robert Bearder, having a good run as well after just such a shaky season for him.
Getting lots of shout outs for hashtag Team Dino tonight as Bearder wants to get his way into the top 5. Steinhoff now will replace Jason Lance in the 66. Not sure what happened to the 66, but he's lost 3 positions going around this track, coming off this field. So your new top 5 as it stands, Fodorero, Essery, Coldboard, Charles Gray now in 3rd, Carpenter moves up to 4th, and Ryan Steinhoff with that sexy Caterpillar off his top lift will move to position number 5.
And as they run right now, Leonard Fodorero maintaining his lead by not a whole lot, just about 2/10 now on Essery. He's not been able to pull away, and that's how we know that the draft does matter so much, because the 67 is getting pulled back quite a bit. Being out in that clean air really helps, but he's pushing through the wind a lot harder than these cars behind him, and they're not tightly tucked up behind each other. So what does that mean? That means they're going to have to deal with fuel mileage.
Not only does it mean they're going to have to deal with fuel mileage, but it's also mean that these guys are going to have to start dealing with the draft. They're going to have to start dealing with the wind, and they're going to have to start dealing with using those tires underneath them. So it's a whole calculated risk. The entire thing is a calculated risk. And in the driver's head, because they don't have crews, because we don't have all the expensive simulations that they have it in some other series, like, I don't know, the iRacing Coca-Cola series, who watches that? Because they don't have all of those expensive things and all that whole team, these guys are calculating on their own. What do I have to do? How does running in the draft affect me? And, you know, that in part settles your strategy. If you don't have all those pieces in your head, you know, you will ultimately lose the game.
Man, I'm watching this battle out front, and it has been very difficult for Favignano to keep the 51 of Chavez Esri off his back bumper. Here he comes to challenge him down into turn number 3. Very tight racing between these two, and I love the lines I've seen out of the 51 that were different than the 67 that allows him to get in the positions he can. That's when you see guys that know the iRacing service in and out. They know these cars. They know what to expect out of them, instead of hearing, hey, I just showed up today and I didn't get a lot of practice in. You can tell these two out front right now have a lot of practice in Michigan, and they know how to utilize the draft.
In the words of ZZ Top, they've got draft and they know how to use it. Now S3's going to try to side draft Favignano, put a little bit of a parachute, if you will, on his run, and ultimately use that to his advantage. Kyle Carpenter sitting in back watching as these two continue to battle for position. S3 has the advantage right now. Will he have the advantage at the start-finish line? Survey says, yes, we do. A new leader on lap number 43.
And what a great move that was, utilizing that draft, using some side drafting action there. And the 67 knows, hey, I've got a race to win, so I need to make sure I'm not burning my stuff up, because Carpenter's not too far back.
Carpenter is not too far back, only less than a half second, and all it takes is him sitting in the draft for a little bit to get that smoky bandit machine back up where it belongs. So Favignano, very interesting move by him to kind of take off a little bit of pressure, ease off the gas, and start to preserve. Normally he's a hard charger as we ride inside with Kyle Carpenter in position number 3 right now. A very interesting move, though, for Favignano. Normally, he's one of the hardest chargers out here, and now he's being patient. Very unusual move.
It is unusual, but that's how you win races. You know, you got to know the moment that you're pushing your car too hard. He finds the wall. Favignano's going to drop back.
Oh! Big hit for him on the wall. That is going to hurt his moves going forward, and that opens the door for that bandit machine. There's beer in Texas Arcana, and the boys in Atlanta are thirsty. He wants to get them cold ones in position number 1, but Esri not letting it move. He's pushing it hard.
And we were watching that tight battle happening right there. Not sure where that came from, but I believe it was the 43 of Joel Brown had some problems there, and we're gonna stack everybody up, and I can guarantee we're gonna see some yellow flags. Some pit stops. Yeah, we're gonna see some yellow flags. The 26 hits the wall and comes down, but the 43 just loses it all by himself. I'm not sure what happened there.
Might have been just too aggressive
right
going
there
off the turn. Yep,
yeah,
that'll do it.
He got squirrely, and then he had help from the 26, right in front of Gould. Nowhere for him to go. He gets caught up in it.
Nowhere to go. 3 cars involved in that incident. They're going to need some of those snap-on tools from the 14 team to get back on track and get these things moving. Good news is they do have those 2 quick repairs we talked about that will help them get around.
Well, you're tuned in to the FRN Irish Hills 200, brought to you by FRN Flat Out Racing Network. And look at that. The 51 stays out, but here comes the field down pit road. Everybody coming down pit road besides Chavez Essery. I don't know about that move there, Joe. You're kind of screwed if you're the first one to go down and no one comes with you, but we kind of figured everybody was going to come down.
Well, this is what we talked about too. This is strategy now in play. Chavez Essery is on a completely different cycle than everybody else as you see Bugs get his lap back out there. Let's follow along with the Bandit, the 77. Nope, check that. Let's follow along the track here as we know pretty much what everyone's going to get down there. 4 tires, full tanks of fuel, down and away. The 67 will be the first one off pit road, followed by the 77. Jason Lance will join them as well, and I believe that's going to be Charles Gray who will move off, come off in 5th.
Yeah, it's a good
Jason
move.
Lance.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out for him. I think Lance got 5th. It looks like that was the case, but Chavez Essery staying out there on that different strategy call, but there you go. Leonard Fodorero on the 67, Kyle Carpenter, and then Charles Gray had a good stop, and yep, you're correct. Jason Lance is right there in the mix.
So let's see who chat is pulling for tonight. Cyphus125 says he's rooting for the 22 of Aviator Alex Reno and the 81, who isn't for Bay Area Bugs. Nutty Narwhal wants Officer 404 to get the win tonight. I think he's somewhere off lost in space. I'm Ducky rooting for both the 87 and 12. They want the YouTubers to win this one. Go Bugs and Ryan. Tanner 2517 wants the 74 to win. Confused mind, check that. Nick at Night, Nick Gould, who is just normally running with us tonight. He's rooting for Chavez Essery or Jason Lance to take home the win. And my buddy, the homie, Violet Black, picking Cowboy Joe to win this race.
And Kyle Carpenter is definitely one to watch, man. He's had a lot of speed these last few laps. And we haven't talked a lot about lap times, and we'll get to that shortly. But let's talk about box times. People in their pit stalls. Fast stops right there. You had Charles Gray, Jason Lance, and Essery. Sorry, the last time he was there were 14.3s. Those are perfect stops. But Chavez Essery on that different strategy call here. We'll see if this works out for him.
I think it's going to be a very interesting move. I'm excited to see how it works. And I think most of all, everyone's going to be watching him to see, is this going to be the strategy to follow? Is this going to be the moves that we make to ultimately win this? I don't know. I think it's going to be a very interesting experiment as we get ready to go back to Green Flag Racing next time by.
Lights off on the pace car. Lap 48. We'll be restarting on lap 49, almost halfway in this race, and a lot of racing to go. We've seen only a handful, just 2 cautions so far. This is the second one of the evening, but the 67 on fresh stuff and everybody behind him. We saw how it didn't work out for the 60 of Potter. Let's see if the 51 can do something different now. Pace car down and away. Joe, you got the call.
Through the Geico restart zone they go. Chavez Essery is in charge of the field, gets halfway through. He is down and away, gets the lap pedal, and we're back to Green Flag Racing on lap 49. Now it's the 67 playing catch up with a 77 and 87 trying to jockey for position.
And behind them, you got a whole bunch of cars fighting for position. We're going to keep an eye on these top 4 right now. After the 51 staying out on older stuff, look at the difference in speed. Here comes the 67 of Fodorero to the inside of the 51. The 51's starting to fall.
The 51, with not as nearly as fresh gear as the 67, will start getting swallowed up by the field. The 67, only the first domino to fall. Now Chavez Essery trying to fall back in line, but here comes Kyle Carpenter.
Caution.
He is caution.
The caution flies, and the 22 of Alex Reno involved. We'll find out what happened here in just a few moments. He's going to back that car up. Tough break for the 22 of Alex.
Yeah, going to need some AC Delco parts, no doubt, to fix that machine.
Looks like it happened kind of in front of him. Looks like Rick Evans and company right here. You've got Ryan, Civ Ryan, turning. Looks like the 70 gets loose here. Let's have a watch here. Looks like the 70 is loose in turn 3. Getting into 4. Comes across the nose of the 12. Not a whole lot Ryan can do right here, but kind of just hang on to the car and hope for the best. But yeah, they make contact there. Rick Evans slide sideways in front of him in the 43. Been involved in quite a few. He'll get around. You can see that whole mess off of turn 4 right here. That's Guzman. Yeah. Now, here's where things turn sour for the 22. The 70 shoots back up the track now and makes contact with the 26. And that'll bring the 26 over towards the 22. Ever so slightly. There's the net code right there. I thought I saw that earlier, and I wanted to, this is why I have it in slow motion. But look at the net code between the 26 and 22. Not even like a half a car length, Joe.
Not even half a car length, and that predictive code saying, nope, we're going to have an accident right now, and it's going to happen this time by.
That's really unfortunate.
Yes, it's unfortunate. It unfortunately is, but like I said, it is what it is. As we officially cross the halfway mark, So let's talk about netcode real quick. For those of you who don't know, iRacing does have a predictive model for all the drivers out here. Although 99% of the time, it doesn't have to use it if there's a mismatch in communications between these drivers at home on their computers and the server. iRacing will predict where that car is supposed to be on track, and if it predicts that there's a conflict or there's going to be an incident as a result of that miscommunication, of that lag, if you will, then the netcode will come in and create a predictive model where it's either going to crash you or not. And as a result, such is life, unfortunately. Is it perfect? No, unfortunately it's not. But is it the best we have for right now? Nah.
I don't know how much curbing your enthusiasm you're watching Larry David, but he talked about the whole thing with the dry cleaners, and sometimes you get an item, but sometimes you lose one. That's what happens in netcode. You see guys, there's so many times I've had a car hit my windshield. I should have been dead. Should have destroyed my car. I went right through it. No problem. The model worked out and said, hey, you're not going to hit this car today. It should have happened, but it didn't happen. We see that give and take in racing, but we also see it in the netcode as well. So sometimes you're the bug and sometimes you're the windshield.
And sometimes you don't even want either. Sometimes I don't want the bug. I don't want the windshield. I just want to drive my car. Is that too much to ask for?
Oh,
but
man.
As it's been famously said before, but what do I know?
What do I know?
But what do I know? God, wouldn't that be a horrible broadcast?
That'd be terrible.
We won't do it. We won't do it.
We won't do it.
Having that in your ear for 100 laps.
Well, yeah, that too. All right, have a look at the weather. Clouds have been in and out. The track has cooled down a little bit to 112. Air temperature 80 degrees. Wind south at 8 miles per hour, so affecting the cars only so slightly here at Michigan International Speedway. 2-mile track here in the beautiful hills of Michigan. About to go back. Green flag racing. Lights are off on the pace car. They'll be ducking down this time. The control car is Leonard Favignano on the outside. They'll be bringing them to the Geico restart zone for the restart. And we'll see. You know what? The 51's been able to hang on so far. Pretty darn good. We'll see what he can do here.
That look for the National Weather Service brought to you by Thrustmaster. As we go back to Green Flag Racing, it is a 67 of Lenny Favignano. He's once again making them write down their notebooks. Who is the leader? It's that 67 machine. He's going to take the big jump, but he's got 2x2 behind him. So a lot of hungry boys want to eat that dog chow.
Man, talk about dog chow. We saw the accordion effect happening behind them. That was Steinhoff that got the worst of it. He was behind Jason Lance when he didn't get going on the restart, and the 74 made contact with the back of him.
Made contact heavy with the back of him, and that is going to stack him up just a little bit. No caution flag out, so we continue to run on lap 53 of 100. It's Favignano up front. Gray, Carpenter, Essery trailing behind him, and Lance rounding out your top 5. Let's follow along right here around the 14, 3 wide through the tri-oval. Through the long, tri-oval as they go into turns 1 and 2. They'll go back to 2x2, but these guys are getting racy now, knowing that they are halfway done.
Watching Essery, he is definitely fighting that car on older tires, and he has dropped back to 5th after that restart in 2nd. and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon.
Not going to stop anytime soon, but it doesn't mean that he's not going to try to figure it out sooner rather than later. Here's what I'm curious about. We're halfway through. Does he come down under green flag, assuming we don't have a yellow flag? Bold assumption, I know, but assuming we don't have a caution flag, does he come down under a green flag to come down and get tires and fuel for his car, or does he wait, try to hold out to see if he can outlast everybody else on the track?
Well, I think what he's going to do here is he's going to wait for a yellow to come out. If the yellow comes out, he will definitely come down pit road, and he'll be on a different cycle from them. That's what he's expecting to happen. If the caution doesn't come out, however, that's going to change it all. But the 51 on the wall, very, very slow.
Tough hit for the 51 as he's going to start going down the field. That's the risk you take when you only have two brand new General Tire rubbers underneath you. They wear out, they slow you down, and they make you tighter on the track. Normally it's a good thing when you're talking about the Big D making it tighter, but for these cars, not so much.
And yep, you need to change out your rubbers.
Always a good suggestion to change out your rubbers, especially when you're running that Big D as hard as it will go. Favignano still up front, now in second. It'll be Gray and Lance fighting for position number 2.
Jason Lance charging on the inside of the 87 of Gray. Gray will go side by side with him off of turn 4 back to the line. And what a great run Jason Lance has had tonight. We talked about last week after the race. Hey, Jason, what is going on with your season? You have so much speed, but there's just nothing coming together at the end. Jason Lance taking that and making attrition out of it. And we're seeing that here tonight. The 87 is in the wall.
87 hard into the wall, opens up the door for the 77. Carpenter comes out of nowhere and takes a big swing. He will move up 3 positions as a result. Score him now in position number 3.
And how about Potter? Look at Ryan Potter back here. He is holding on. He started 5th right now, and he's back in the 5th position, and he's got that draft. He's maintaining a little bit of pace in that hot rod tonight.
Just a little bit of pace. He is, if anyone's incredibly patient, it is a 60 of Potter. He has slowly worked his way to keep in the top 10, now back in the top 5 with less than 50 laps to go. He's being smart. He's slowly working his way through the field. All you have to do is be patient, let everybody else make the mistakes, and react accordingly. That's how you get ahead in this track.
Having a look at Robert Bearder, started in 11th. He's moved all the way into the 3rd position. One of the best runs that Robert has had this season so far. And he's right ahead of the 77. One of the fastest cars on the track is that 77. Look at the last lap times there, 40.8 on that one. But actually, you would be very surprised to know who the fastest car on the track right now is. Well, that's the 86 of Jason Lance.
Not surprising that he is the fastest car. Number 1, he is right in the wheel, in lockstep, wheel to wheel with the 67 of Favignano. He's benefiting from the draft going his way. So Lance right now, all he has to do is ride around, let Favignano do the hard work, and all he has to do is time his move accordingly. All he has to do is time it right, let Favignano make the mistake as his tires wear down, and he could take the lead. He doesn't have to do anything else. Just be patient, be smart, and let Favignano open the door for him. And
you can see how smooth Lance is on the wheel. That is what is required to be fast here. Remember, any little bit more you're turning the wheel than the guy in front of you, you are scrubbing speed off, and it shows. And you're seeing that everybody on his fixed setup knows that. And Jason Lance, very smooth on the wheel, waiting for the 67 to make mistakes, utilizing that draft. You can just see how loose the 67 is off the corner.
Well, again, the 67 is known for being a hard charger. He is known for driving that Chevy Impala underneath him as hard as it will go. He's a great driver in that respect, but that being said, at a track like this where strategy comes into play, you have to leave something in the tank for dogfights like this, no pun intended, to our sweet girl Blue out there. Blue skidoo, we can too, and Favignano will skidoo as hard as he can to keep Lance behind him.
I like what Lance is doing. He's running a very different line on entry than Favignano, as Favignano is slowing up in the middle of the corner, and that is where the 86 is able to capitalize on that. And you see the difference in speed off the corner, utilizing the draft and He's a lot slower than Favignano in 3 and 4, but man, down in 1 and 2, it's very different.
Incredibly different all the way around, and again, this is where strategy starts to take in consideration, and this is why I was asking that about Chavez earlier in the race. What's he going to do as he moves throughout the track? What's he going to do as everything happens around him? He's got less tires underneath him, he's got less fuel, so now he's got to start figuring out, do I come down under a green flag? I think that's a question that Favignano, Lance and company are also asking as well. When do I come down if I have to under a green flag?
Yeah, and it's a matter of just ticking laps off right now under green. That's what they want to do. They're expecting a caution later on down the road, and especially Chavez was hoping for that to happen, and it has not worked out in his favor at all. He's fallen all the way back. All the way back. You would not believe it, Joe. 18th.
He has gone from the penthouse to the cheap seats, currently running in that position. Good news is he's still on the lead lap. Bad news is if he continues his pace, he's going to get lapped pretty quick. Good news is, though, he's still in front of a couple other guys, including Civ Ryan, I believe, as now the 81 back in the picture. He's back on the lead lap.
Yep, 81 of Brandon Buggs back on the lead lap after starting 15th. Had that crash early on. They have come down pit road, got a fast repair. Remember, they get 2 fast repairs each race. He came down pit road, got a fast repair, fresh tires, been just taking a different approach to the race right now, and he's moved up into the 15th position on the lead lap.
Slowly but surely, Brandon Buggs, the inevitable Brandon Buggs, I should say, continues to make his presence known on this track. So Favignano, Lance, Carpenter, Potter, Bearder, your top 5, but still plenty of racing to do as we continue around we go here at Michigan.
Well, we're under green right now, and we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more action here, our one and probably only break of the night before we come back and watch the end of this race. Leonard Favignano out front. We'll be back with more here at Michigan. And welcome back to Michigan for the OCRP ARCA series here tonight. And just because we're in the ARCA cars doesn't mean there are different drivers. These are the Cup Series drivers you saw from last season right now. Here comes Lance to the bottom of the 67 to make a move for the lead. But Joe, if only bladders were made of steel.
If only bladders were made of steel and balls were made of pure bronze, wouldn't everything be great? But that being said, if ifs and buts for candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Now is the question. Now is when we start figuring out who has what left in the tank, who's been able to save it, who's been able to play strategy out there. And now we're really going to see the men separate from the boys. Who out here has been playing, 4D chess? Let's find out.
Well, the 67 really shrewded it there off a turn number 2, and the 86 was able to get right on by him. And Jason Lance out front right now, trying to get a win after such a shaky season. So much speed in that car. He's had so many issues with other drivers hitting him and getting spun and just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So a great, great run for the 86 of Lance.
Great to see Jason Lance in that with that hot rod monster machine running as hard as he can, going so well. Now side by side with the 67 of Favignano, side by side they're going to go. This could open the door up for Carpenter. Let's see who he decides to help.
Yeah, you see Carpenter's got a great view out his front right now. He's got to decide who he's going to go with. The 67 wants to get up there, but not able to do it. Side drafting with the 77 of Carpenter down into turn 3. And they've got a lapped car up there ahead, and I believe that is either Hilton or Guzman. Keeping an eye on that.
I believe that'd be the 89 of Hilton.
Yeah.
Or it should be 89 of Hilton anyways.
3 wide for the lead.
As we ride along, as we were riding along there temporarily with Kyle Carpenter, Smokey's gonna take the lead. I've run out of lyrics to Eastbound and Down to apply, but apply your own puns there for that race. As he wanted to take the lead, not gonna happen. Favignano goes low, makes the move on Lance, and now it's a 4-man fight for position number 1.
Well, see, Joe, all you do is just shift the lyrics over to Texas bound and a flying, and I would say if you're Texas bound, well, you're not there. You're Michigan bound and flying, because that's Carpenter, and he's been super fast making these decisions each time. I think right now he's seeing what his car can do and what it can't do at this part in the race with this many laps to go. Time is starting to run out, so making those decisions, hey, can I make the pass if I do this or I do that on these guys? That's what he's doing right now. Carpenter's a very smart racer, and we're seeing him do exactly that.
That being said, though, I guarantee you Carpenter only has one thing right now on his mind. He's going to put that hammer down and give him hell as long as he's out there. 72 laps being scored right now. Just over 25 left to go. Time is running out. If you're going to make a move, now is the time to do it. You do not have the leisure of making that move when you want it. You've got to start going now and figuring out how you're going to keep everyone behind you.
He's got his 10 in the wind. He's letting it hang out all again. How you going to win if you ain't trying? That's the 77 right now, a Carpenter, and he has speed. I'm watching these lap times here, Joe. 41.666. I don't care how religious you are. Yeah, you got the devil speech right there. The 41.666. He is the fastest car on the track right now.
He's got to dodge him. He's got to duck him. He's got to keep that diesel running. And now he's going to try to make it the move around the 86 of Lance. Looking low, can't get the move on him. He's going to have to fall back in line. Carpenter doing everything he can to try to figure out how to move it. But I think he's also being smart. I think he's timing his move so that he's not unnecessarily burning up what's underneath him. He's simply trying to kind of gauge where everybody else is, so he knows when and where to time his move to get up front.
Well, they're all back together, and they're burning up the road, and that old Leo is out there dogging him again. He is trying to catch those two drivers. Very hard to do in that draft, and we saw at Pocono, the draft didn't matter so much. I'm seeing something totally different here, Joe, here tonight. The draft seems to matter a lot.
The draft absolutely matters at a track like this. Like we said at the beginning, this track is going to run like a super speedway. It's going to run like a Talladega. It's going to run like a Daytona, and draft will matter. Will it matter as much? It depends on where you're at and what your goals are. But now, as everyone's car shakes down, as they understand what they have underneath them, now is where draft gets important, and they slowly start to figure out how to make that move.
The only problem is they keep looking where he's already been, and that is exactly the issue for the 86. He's trying to make a move on the 67, is down to the bottom of the track, going to make a pit stop under green. It comes down to what we were talking about earlier, Joe, and that is fuel mileage. That caution didn't come out when they thought it was going to. that changes up the entire race. And by the way, I do not have a Google Doc, or I didn't look up the lyrics to Texas Bound and a Flying. I'm a huge Smokey and the Bandit fan, and that's the reason why I've been throwing you every lyric every time that it's been my turn to talk. But Joe, how about that 86 of the Lance?
That 86 of Lance, the Rat Fink, the icy machine is icing him out. And Jeff, what's cooler than being cool?
Ice cold.
Ice cold, and that is what Lance has done on that move. He's now back up front, and now he's going to be forced to make the move as well. Carpenter coming with him. Potter, now your leader.
On pit road, here they come, and they are almost racing down pit road, you could call it, because, you know, this is a race track, and race cars are out here racing each other. But even on pit road, you do race each other. You have to push the limit. Hey, you have your tachometer, and, you know, you got to make sure that you're going to be in the position you want to, and we'll show you what we're talking about here as Lance goes right side tires, and I would imagine he's going to take 4 tires here on this entire stop before the other guy goes. There he is, revving it up a little bit. You see right here. And there's the jack. Here comes those RPMs. You look for the green. And you don't get to see it here, but the drivers themselves do see that.
So Potter, Steinhoff, Schultz, Gould, and Bugs, now your top 5. And the question is, who comes down pit road next? Who is going to be the next one to come down to the attention of their crews and figure it out? Now, something else to consider right now, Jeff, if a caution flag comes out, everything is a moot issue. Everything's a moot point, because everyone will come down to the attention of their crews, have 4 tires, a whole tank of fuel, and that will mess up everybody else around them. As you see, Favignano currently sitting in 10th after his pit stop, still 30 seconds behind your leader.
Well, if he can keep it on the ground when he puts that hammer down, that's the 77 to Kyle Carpenter. He's got that speed, and we've seen it all night long. But yes, we're going to see how everything cycles out here, because Potter and Steinhoff and Bugs and Schultz and Gould and Orendorf, etc., have not come down pit road yet. So I would imagine we will probably see Favignano, our leader, as they run currently. But that can change if the caution were to come out now, or he had a bad stop. Now, when we talk about bad stops, you're not going to see it out of this driver. The 67, Joe, had a 14 flat on pit road. That is the best stop of the day.
Incredible stop for his team, incredible stop for his crew, gets him out as fast as they can. The problem now is he's got to fight his way back through traffic and figure out if everyone's going to come back down, when everyone's going to come back down as well. He's still 30 seconds behind. Potter is your leader right now, and with 20 to go, he's not interested so far in coming down pit road. He wants to risk it as much as he can. Bay Area Bugs, the 81 machine, fighting for position number 2.
Yeah, and now third, because that's Tyler Schultz in the 94 DuPont Chevrolet that just went on the outside of him, and Nick Gould is in company right behind the 94, and the 81 is fighting to stay in that position. You want to kind of stay in the top 5. He's hoping for a caution. Hey, a caution comes out, I come down pit road, but you already know the guys that stopped, they're probably going to come down pit road too. Here comes the 81.
The 81 of Brandon Bugs not taking any risks. He will come down pit road and look for him to do the same. 4 tires, full tank of Sunoco virtual racing fuel with 20 laps left to go on the field. All eyes now on that 60 machine of Potter on when he's going to come down, because when he comes down, that will shake up the entire complexion of this race. At that point, you'll open the door for guys like Johnson, for Favignano, Lance, Carpenter, and Brown, who would be your leaders right now.
Well, Frog and the Snowman, your friends, if you want to call them that, I'm watching right now Jason Lance in 7th, Leonard Favignano right here in 6th, but don't count out that 77. The reason why I brought up a Smokey and the Bandit reference right there, look at the speed he has. He knows, hey, it's time to go, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Good gracious alive, looks like we got ourselves a convoy. And I guarantee you that's what they want to do right now. They want to line up. They want to line up nose to tail, get that convoy going, and get it rocking as hard as they can through the night here in Michigan. The more they line up, the more they work together, the faster they're going to be able to catch Potter and challenge for the lead.
And Potter just has to stay out as long as possible, stretch everybody out. And what I mean by that is, hey, I haven't come down on pit road yet. I'm staying out until I cannot any longer because of fuel. And the guys behind you, you want a good 5 laps on those tires. Force them into a position where they need to come down pit road as well. And that'll work out beautifully when the caution comes out. The 60 is playing the caution game. He wants that caution flag to come out. That would mean everything for that team right there. And behind him, Schultz. How about it in second? And Gould, Orndorff. Those top 4 are in the same exact position, hoping for a caution, Joe.
Well, those 4 are in the catbird seat right now, as my old buddy Tim Terry would say. Those guys are the ones who have to watch everything. As you see, Chavez Essery jumping down among them right now. The 51 starting to make some moves. He's, I believe, a lap down, maybe a couple laps down, but he's going to try to get it back on. He's going to try to get back the hard way. He's going to try to get back around Potter and work his way up back to the lead lap. If anyone needs a yellow flag right now, it is the 51, as we've only got 17 laps left.
Yes, you see the 51 right here. He is 1 lap down, and so are many other drivers. So Rick Evans all the way over here coming off of turn 4 is the first car a lap down for the Lucky Dog. Brandon Buggs 1 lap down as well. Alex Reno and then Chavez Essery. That is how they are running a lap down. However, the difference is here's your leader in turn 1, and he has not come down pit road. So those guys are only down 1 lap, Joe, because they have not come down pit road yet. And that's the top 4 we're keeping an eye on.
Those guys have not come down pit road. It's 16 laps left to go at this juncture. 15 when they hit the start-finish line. And here's what we're looking for. Potter, Schultz, Gould, Orndorff, they are doing everything they can to stay out on these tires. They are hoping for a caution flag, as Fodorero now 20 seconds behind. It's plausible if Fodorero and company drive as hard as they can, as he Bugs now getting his lap back. If they drive as hard as they can, in theory, they can catch up to these leaders. Those leaders, though, at this point, I think they're thinking, should we be throwing something out of the car to bring out the mysterious debris caution that usually haunts these races late? They're thinking, what do I need to do to try to get something happen so I can guarantee Fodorero and company aren't going to be my problem?
Oh, we're watching right here, round 6th and 7th right here. And the reason why we're watching Fodorero, Kyle Carpenter, and Jason Lance, all these guys are together because we know the top 4 have not come down on pit road yet. So if they come down pit road, and they will have to eventually, that will give the lead to the 67. The 87, however, of Charles Gray is 1 lap down. He's trying to get by the 67 so he can make his way towards the top 4 so he can unlap himself. That's going to be a very, very difficult thing for Charles Gray to do, as he was caught down a lap because of his pit time or his top on pit road. So we're watching these guys right now, Fodorero, Jason Lance, and Joel Brown even right over here. He's coming in the line right now. Don't count him out. He's in 8th. Jason Lance right in front of him. That's the difference right there. That's the gap that you're looking at. So we're looking at the 67, the 77, and the 86 for the win currently. And then don't count out Joel Brown. What a great run he's had. He's off of turn number 2 right now. But just fantastic driving all around after starting 20th.
About 12 laps to go at this juncture, and I've done a little bit of math in my head. Even if Fodorero and company catch them at a pace of 1 second per lap, they're not going to have enough time to get up to Potter and company. This could turn into a strategy race very quickly, and you say they don't have enough to finish the race. All they have to do is cross the finish line. You don't have to cross it with a full tank of fuel. You can cross it on marbled tires. All you got to do is cross that finish line first. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think Potter's capable of doing this if he can just run a conservative race for the remainder of this field. 12 to go, and he's got a stranglehold on the field.
Well, I can tell you, I was not paying enough attention to what the 60, the 94, 14, and 20 did on the last 2 stops. I really don't know what is different there. Maybe somebody made an extra stop for fuel so they would have enough for the end to make that difference. So, yeah, it does come down to strategy. It comes down to fuel mileage 100%, and maybe Potter has enough in the tank for the next 11 laps.
Only one way to find out as Potter continues to run on this field, maintaining a huge lead over the rest of the field. Schultz, 4.5 seconds behind. Gould, 6 seconds behind. Orendorff, 8 seconds behind. And then you have your front runners, Lance, Fodorero, Carpenter, Brown, Bearder, and Calvin, all way behind back there. Nowhere to be found, over 15 seconds behind. If Potter and company are forced to come down pit road, it'll be Lance, I believe, that will have the lead. So these guys still fighting amongst each other because they know all it takes is one slip up for this race to have a completely different perspective.
You know what, Joe? I'm going to go ahead and just jinx myself here. It has been almost an hour and a half. Oh my God, the 67 turns to 77. What an incredible save.
What a save.
Wow.
Now, did you still want to jinx yourself
I don't.
Jeff, after that save?
I was going to say it's almost an hour and a half, but we've had 0 stutters in this particular lobby tonight. That never, ever happens. It's been butter smooth all night. But yeah, no, what an incredible save by the 77.
Yeah, keep that one in your back pocket until we're done with the broadcast. How about that? As that 77 saves the car, he will drop behind Lance and Fodorero, but still in that pack, along with that supermodel we call Joel Brown. Potter continues to lead, has over almost 5 seconds on the field with 10, now counting 9 to go.
9 to go. We're going to go through the field here so you know where everybody runs as they are without coming down pit road, the top 4. So you have Ryan Potter, Tyler Schultz after starting 18th. Is going with the strategy call for second. Third is Jonathan Orendorff. Almost didn't make this race tonight because of PC issues. Here he is right now running in the third spot. One of the greatest runs he's had all season. Then we have Nick Gould, Jason Lance, Leonard Fodorero, Kyle Carpenter, Joel Brown in 8th. 9th is Robert Bearder back here getting into turn 2. And then Ryan Steinhoff rounding out your top 10.
Still plenty of racing to go with 9 to go, 8 to go as Potter crosses the start-finish line. This is his race to lose right now, Jeff. This is absolutely his race to lose, and it could be starting to be his race to lose as Schultz now starting to pick up time. Last time we talked about him, he was 4.5 seconds behind. Now he's 3 1/3 seconds behind, and he could easily reel in Schultz could reel in Potter with 8 laps to go.
Yeah, Schultz 3.5 seconds back from Potter. Potter comfortably sitting there. And let's ride on board with him because if I think what I think is happening in here, that is saving fuel. And that's going to be Potter taking it easy. You can hear him feathering the throttle right here. Into turn 1, he's going to back out of the gas very early here. So he's going to jump out right about this light right now. Let it coast for a while. And then slowly pick up that throttle. There he goes right there, taking it easy, taking it easy. He's going to find the wall. Hang on to it, buddy. Yeah, now he's going to be tight because he's in those older tires.
Well, not only that, but that definitely opens the door now for Schultz, who is now 2.5 seconds back, and he's starting to make a big move on him, trying to so quickly catch up to him in that Rainbow Warrior DuPont scheme of throwback to Jeff Gordon.
Potter on pit road.
Potter comes down pit road. Forced to come down pit road after hitting the wall. It's now Schultz in the lead with 6 to go.
6 to go, and it comes down to fuel mileage. Ryan Potter knew the moment he hit the wall, maybe it's going to make a problem with the car itself, but now Tyler Schultz out front, and he finds the wall off of 2.
He finds the wall hard, opens the door now for Lance, who is starting to catch up big time after he takes a little bit of the wall glue. Schultz has to run the cleanest 5 laps of his life if he wants a prayer at winning the race. Otherwise, you got a bunch of hungry sharks led by Jason Lance behind him.
That's Tyler Schultz right there. He knows he's got to really stretch his fuel mileage, and he's got 5 seconds on Lance. Lance all the way back here off of turn 4, almost at the stripe right now, and his last lap was a 41.692 to the 43 that Tyler Schultz ran. So 2 seconds different right there at least, and my math is off a little bit there, but yeah, about that. So we're keeping an eye on Tyler Schultz right now. Tyler Schultz taking it very easy with that 94 DuPont Chevrolet, and he could find victory lane if he can just make it work.
So Schultz now 3 seconds and change, but in front of them, and nope, he can't make it. He's going to have to go up now pit road. An effort was made, and he is unable to do so. So your green flag pit stop drivers now back in the lead. They have 4 laps to determine it between them. Lance, Fodorero, Carpenter, Schultz, and Brown. One of these guys is going to come home the winner.
Keeping an eye on Lance, having a great run tonight. So much speed, and he is going to maintain the lead. But watching back here for second, Fodorero and Carpenter to the inside of the 14 of Gould. These are guys that are down a lap, and now he's going to try to make a move on him and maybe utilize the 87 here.
Maybe utilize the 87, maybe try to use him as a... Try to find a way to force the issue here as Lance, Fodorero, Carpenter, all these guys were battling amongst one another for this win. The 14 could have a big play here in how this all ends. It's a matter of time to see what the 14 does and if he's able to provide a buffer between these guys. 3 to go. Lance, your leader.
What an incredible run by Jason Lance, starting second today after his disappointing season, and he's in a position to win the race here tonight at Michigan based on strategy. Who was on pit road? Who had the better stop? Who made the right calls? Well, the 86 of Lance has done all of those things, and right behind him is Kyle Carpenter now to the outside of the 67.
Smokey wants to have one last run against Fodorero. 2 to go. Popsicle sticks last time by. Lance continues to lead. 3/4 of a second in front of Fodorero, Carpenter, and Brown.
And almost tight off of 2, making contact, but he was able to maintain his position off the 77 right there. Fodorero down into 3, side by side, still for second.
Lance going to be the beneficiary of all this as he gets turned. The 67 gets turned into the wall.
Caution!
77 clips him. Caution flag comes out. We're going to have a green-white checkered finish.
Wow, did not expect that to happen. That changed everything for the end of this race. And what a downfall for the 77 right there after making contact. That was a 67, hard racing right there, and that's what we talked about. These cars get extremely tight on a long run, and you see right there the 67 just comes right up into the 77. Kyle Carpenter maintaining his position, his line very fiercely. I love how he's fiercely. And then the 67 across the nose, hard contact, both in the wall. That's going to be damage for both of those cars. Joe, they're both going to have to come down pit road.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Both those cars are going to need attention from their pit crews as the 77 and 67 made contact. That is the second heartbreak for Fodorero in as many weeks. Remember, he was on the last lap leading when Nick Sargent, not to be confused with Nick Gould, Nick Sargent got into him for the win at Irwindale. Now you see smoke coming out of the 67. He's going to need a quick repair, which could hurt him just a little bit in position as they get ready, as they come back on pit road, sliding it back and forth. Not a great look for that 67. Not at all.
Even with the damaged car, look at how he has command. How much control he has of his car. What an incredible driver Leo Fodorero is. And you saw right there, anybody else would have spun that car getting onto pit road as fast as he had to. He knows that he's under pressure to make up every point he possibly can on Graham when it comes to the points. And you're seeing just how great of a driver he is and what an incredible run he's had today. And yeah, he got the worst end of that. But Jonathan Orendorff stays out, Joe. Everybody else came down pit road.
This is going to be very interesting. Orendorff in that throw, or in the Tony Stewart throwback machine. He's going to stay out. He's going to take the lead. Nick Gould, not to be confused with Nick Sargent, who's in chat. Nick at 948 for those keeping score will be position number 2. And now we have a combination of strategies in play.
I'm keeping score. I'm going to put that rookie in the wall next time I race him.
I'm sure you will.
I usually have staggered match perfect tires to get it done, so.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
It is. You're eating ice cream. We would ask you to come down to pit road and have some as well, but, you know, can't always have ice cream.
Why can't you always have ice cream? There's always room for ice cream.
I agree. And you know what? There's a ice cream that's out there. It's the waffle cones. So I'm not huge in ice cream. I actually like frozen custard better. Or not.
Okay.
No, not custard. Frozen yogurt. Froyo, as they call it. I like that better than ice cream, personally. But my God, there is a cones. It's a waffle cone crunched up into the vanilla ice cream and then chocolate. Oh, dude, that is the best thing I've ever had. I'm sorry, but this is incredible.
See, now that you mentioned that, the frozen custard does sound great. I do love that thickness, the creaminess, the little bit of egg
I don't
in
like
there.
frozen custard because it's a custard. I'm not a custard fan. I don't like jelly-filled, custard-filled donuts either. I'm a weirdo.
Well, yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a fan of filled donuts either. I just want the good fried dough with maybe a little frosting and some sprinkles on top.
Yeah.
That's just a classic American
I see somebody in, I see Red Panda talking about something in the chat about Nutella. I don't get the Nutella craze. I've had it a few times. I don't like it, Joe. Hazelnut spread?
The opinions made by Jeff Favignano does not represent those of his sponsors, his broadcasting partners, or those in chat tonight.
I'm not a Nutella nut, dude. I don't get it. A lot of people just like dunk that stuff in everything. But I'll shut up. We have a race to finish here. 102. It's going to be green-white checker for the most part. Jonathan Orendorff is going to be the lead car. Joe, you got the call.
Jonathan Orendorff in that number 20 Home Depot Chevy Impala will take them to the Geico restart zone, drops the loud pedal, and we are back to racing on lap 102. Orendorff can get the win, but Carpenter and the 14 want to play spoiler, as do everybody behind them.
What an incredible restart there by the 77, and here comes the 74. Steinhoff to the bottom. He's going to challenge for position. 3 wide off of 2.
3 wide off of 2, and it's still anybody's race. Orendorff continues to lead. No caution flag out. We continue to race as the 74 now makes a big move to get up position number 2, and here comes what is that, the 86, Jason Lance.
And Orendorff's loving this behind him. 4 wide. Here comes Brandon Buggs up to 4th.
Joel Brown got into the wall coming off turn number 4. Will not affect anything. White flag is out. Next flag ends the race. It's Orendorff up front, and now a whole bunch of contenders behind him for position 2.
And it's 1 to go by Thrustmaster. Come on, buddy. I am rooting for Jonathan Orendorff 100%. Hold him off as much as you can, bud. I am rooting for you. You almost didn't make this race, and you could get your first win. Come on. And behind him, second place, Ryan Steinhoff and Brandon Buggs.
Steinhoff, Buggs fighting for the scraps at Jonathan Orendorff's leaving them. They'll get twisted. They'll get into the wall. But up front, Jonathan Orendorff scores his first win in the OCRP iRacing League.
Jonathan Orendorff getting the win. Unbelievable. Come on. And that is what an incredible run. I'm sorry, I feel a little biased, but I root for the underdog, and knowing that John almost quit the league. He literally just talked about this a few days ago, quitting the league. Hey, it's been fun, guys. Thank you for everything. Had PC issues and was able to actually get it fixed and gets his first win. Unbelievable.
It is these underdog stories, these checkers to wreckers stories that we live for, Jeff. And Orendorff absolutely earned that one. He stayed out. He played the strategy game. He made it work to his advantage. And much like the man who drove that Home Depot car years ago, Tony Stewart, he showed the tenacity. He showed the strength and intelligence to win this race and ultimately hold everybody behind him. Jonathan Orendorff, what an incredible win. What an incredible finish. You earned that one. Welcome to the winner's circle.
Man, oh man. And Jonathan Orendorff definitely deserves this win. What an incredible start he had tonight, and he worked his butt off. I was watching so many different races with other drivers to get in the position that he was in. He took the gamble. He took the track position. He drove his butt off. Behind him, he knew they were going to be right there side by side. And Jonathan Orendorff gets the win here tonight. Talk about celebration. And I'm sorry, I get really, really excited when I see these guys that never think in a million years they would get a win in this league, and they're able to do it right here. And Jonathan Orendorff, one of those drivers, will get you your race results right now. Jonathan Orendorff getting the win after starting 9th. Mitchell Calvin.
Dog Jeff.
Mitchell Calvin in 2nd. Jason Lance, Robert Bearder, Alex Reno in 5th. Rick Evans, Charles Gray, Siv Ryan, after running all the way in the back there, gets a top 10. Kyle Carpenter, Tyler Schultz. What a shake up everything was at the end. Joe?
Nick Gould will finish 11th. Brandon Buggs, after having so much trouble on the track, almost finished 2nd. He will finish 12th on the night. Leonard Potorero, who was the man to win this race, will finish 13th. Joe Ogle 14th. Ryan Steinhoff will finish 15th. Austin Johnson, Joel Brown, Ryan Porter, James Hilton 19th. And the man who started first on the field, Chavez Essery, will finish in 20th position, 19 laps down.
What an incredible finish. And Zachary Guzman rounding out your 21 drivers tonight. Tony Wilson is race control and admin right here for the FRN Irish Hills 200. And oh my God, what a finish, Joe.
Like I said, get that man a hot dog, get that man whatever he wants, get him a ticket to Disney World, because that's where he's going in his heart after that big win. You could not ask for a more exciting way to end this race. What was a long race around this track, and 90 minutes, pretty fast racing as well.
Absolutely. We're going to head over here and we're going to talk to some drivers right now. All right, I am going to catch up with Jonathan Orendorff. John, you didn't think you could make this race this week. You had issues with your PC. Tell us about all the emotions you're feeling right now getting your first win here at OCRP.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to be able to race in this race because my computer's been having problems for, I'd say months, but just recently in the past week here. And thankfully, it worked again, and it survived all the laps. And yeah, at the end there, I was just trying to hope to stay out, hope for a late caution, and just kind of make up on fresh tires. But then, yeah, I came in about five to go around there, and the caution came out when I knew, okay, I'll just stay out and just hope for the best. And I knew I only put on about 5 laps or so on the tires, so I was like, I at least had enough grip to know I could at least stay up front for a little bit. And I just needed them to get, like they were doing, just get into a mess. And I don't know who crashed, but I saw him spin out, and I just lost it off in 4. I was just completely just losing it. But oh man, this is amazing. I just I really can't believe it. Really, it's something I said, it's not something I can dream of, but something that I pictured in my mind, like what it would be like to win in the OCRP league. And I've liked these kind of tracks. I was really good at Auto Club in the next gen cars, and I said, oh man, I'm gonna love going to Michigan. I can't. I'm shocked, really.
What an incredible run. You started in 9th. You were in the top 10. You had speed here in Michigan. You know how hard it is to pass. What is the difference between seeing this car and how it behaves at Pocono compared to here at Michigan?
Poconos is just way flat, and you're a lot slower, obviously, in the corners than here. The car has a lot more aerodynamic problems at Pocono versus here. You can get more spread out throughout the track, so you be able to avoid the dirty air, and it's just more wide open through here. You can keep on the throttle. You still gotta save your tire. Still have my issues there early where I just was burning up the right front way too fast, and it's just kind of definitely a completely different tracks for sure. Though they're both, well, one's 2.5 and one's 2 miles. It's still completely different, but Yeah, I just like these kind of tracks for some reason. They're just because you still have driver input, but they have a lot more speed and a little bit of draft in it too. So I just can't believe it.
Absolutely incredible run, man. Congratulations. I was totally unbiased for the finish there. And man, I'm just so happy to see you get a win, honestly. And let's continue with the underdog story here, right here in second. Mitchell Calvin, you started off sixth tonight, and you've had such an up and down season, just as much as Jonathan there, and you finished in second. How did you make it happen?
That last caution right there with the green-white checker all saved it all for me. Tires were burned up. I was just struggling just to keep everybody close and keep those at distance for the finish to get that top 10, and that caution came out. I was like, all right, let's go down here and get some tires to everybody else, and didn't take any fuel, so I sputtered right at the start-finish line, so a mute point if we had a couple more laps. I probably maybe could have got to the bumper or Orndorff and raced him to the end, but I'll take a P2 any day of the week right here, especially being one of the newer guys, not as talented as some of these other guys, I will say. So a P2 is major for me right now.
Well, Jonathan rocking the breast cancer awareness in the back of his car, and you've got a whole car attached to that. Tell us how much that means to you.
That is a lot. My mother has been a cancer survivor for 15 plus years now, and ever since we got that announcement back in 2006, it's donned pink every October for as far as I can remember, just to show support and let everybody know that you got to keep fighting.
Well, there you have it. You started sixth. You finish in second. An incredible run by Mitchell Calvin here tonight at Michigan. Next driver I want to talk to is Rick Evans. Started in 10th at a top 10 speed right there. You had a lot of good battles with other drivers, but man, right here in the top 10, rounding out in 6th. Rick, how was your race?
Oh, that was so fun. I thought I was gonna not make it on that last caution because I took an extra set of tires, even though I had plenty of gas to finish, but I was afraid that I would get past, so I took the chance, and it worked out for me.
It was a lot of fun to watch you out there racing some of the best for sure. And when it comes down to strategy, things can change for a lot of drivers, and we see how everything just got completely turned upside down. Joe.
I'm going to start with a good friend of mine who is always excited that when we're in the broadcast. That is the driver of the number 22 Machine Aviator, Alex Reno. Look at it. Congratulations, buddy. Another top 5. Another big finish for you.
Oh, yeah, man. That caution saved my butt there. I was going to run top 10 probably and finish, or, maybe right outside of top 10, but the caution came in clutch right there. I wasn't running good all night, but thankfully we picked the right line on that green-white checkered and came through for us.
All it takes is one good finish. All it takes is one good place. Walk us through those last 3 laps. What was on your mind, and what were you trying to do to ensure this top 5?
On the initial start, I was trying to see if I could get back to the top line since I started in the inside line, and then eventually it went or evolved to where the inside line was a little quicker, and just stayed kind of middle to bottom line, and they wrecked coming to the checkered, and luckily I was able to avoid that for a top 5.
Alexander Reno will start in 17th, finishing top 5 tonight. Let's talk to Jason Lance also, who was in challenge to win this race, finishes 3rd. You can't complain about a 3rd, but it's got to be heartbreaking that it wasn't 1st.
Oh yeah, it's big heartbreak. I had actually taken the white flag there, and then like a millisecond later, we got the yellow flag. So my heart just pretty much sank seeing that, because I knew that we have guys coming into pit road and doing some strategy, and I felt 4 tires would be better than 2 versus how many laps we had ran. But the still not bad. I had a lot of fun out there tonight, and I'm glad I ran as strong as I did.
Do you, if everything had played out, actually, you know what? Let me ask a different question. Strategy played a big part of this race. You came down in the middle of the race under a green flag to come down pit road. Do you think that ultimately hurt you, or was that part of the reason why you ended up in third tonight?
No, that's not the reason why I ended up in third. Yeah, pretty much when you see Leonard pit when he's in the lead, he pretty much had to pit right after that, otherwise he'd get too much of a distance on you going out. So yeah, that's what that was, and it was a pretty clean race there out front for the most part. He had quite a few cautions, but that's not out of the ordinary versus how slick the bottom of the track was tonight, which is very uncharacteristic of Michigan. So that's why I found the middle line to be, my preferred line.
Jason Lance had a great run tonight. We'll finish it off in third. Before we go off, Jeff, let's also talk to for your fourth place finisher, Robert Bearder in that number 4 machine. Robbie started 11th, ended up 4th. Just talk about the run tonight here in the Irish Hills of Michigan.
Yeah, I thought I had I don't know what I thought after practice, but I mean, I came in with an open mind, and the RAR car was raring to go, and I was like, all right, just stick around the top 10, and we were sticking around the top 10, and all of a sudden, we were passing people and competitive. I was like, okay, I feel pretty good here. We were in the top 5 for a little bit, and my ambition started going up from there. I was like, okay, maybe we can get a top 5 finish. And that caution, the last run, I thought we were going to get another yellow, so I abused those tires. I didn't expect it to come on the last lap. I thought I just screwed over my race because I came back to Steinhoff and Bugs, who knocked me out of the top 5 and so on. But yeah, I mean, I hated that Steinhoff and Bugs got wrecked there at the end, but obviously it works out for us because we get the top 5. But man, that was a really fun race. Like Orndorff was saying earlier, it's just kind of cool how we have so much speed, but you still get so much driver input, especially as the tires fall off. It was a blast and great racing, everybody, and huge congrats to Orndorff. I mean, especially if all the PC trouble, it's so cool to see the first time winner like that.
For those who don't know and are uninitiated like me, tell us the story of the RAR car.
The RAR car is a busy bearder with work and baby, and did not have time to make an actual throwback scheme based on anything. So I was like, you know what? What's old and isn't around anymore? Dinosaurs. So I threw some dino toys on the car, and for a throwaway scheme, I actually really liked it. So I just kept it and added RAR onto it. So
what I'm hearing is the RAR car may be here to stay this season.
I think so. I think the RAR car is here to stay. It's raring to go.
After a top 5 finish, I think luck is on his side. Bearder there finishing 4th in the RAR car, Jeff.
RAR.
Absolutely incredible. And the last person I have to talk to is my good buddy, Brandon Bugs. Oh, not for any other reason than I have to find out what the hell happened off of turn 4. First of all, had a great run in the beginning, stayed there towards the back of the pack. It got caught up in a crash. Looks like he came up there into the 21 a little bit there. Just very close racing here at Michigan. But walk us through that last restart and how crazy it was.
I mean, yeah, that was pretty much it. Just close racing. We had a lot of white flag wrecks, and that moved us up quite a bit in a really good position to, maybe get a P2, P3, something like that. And both just me and Steinhoff just pushing really hard, both wanting that position. And, now's the time to do it. After all race going down 2 laps and coming back on lead lap, it was time to go. So we were both just racing hard, and, sometimes that happens. And unfortunately, he didn't get to finish the race, and I finished with 3 wheels.
Well, there you go. You finish just a few positions ahead of where you started. Hey, that's a win in my book. Joe, let's go ahead and let these guys get to their drivers' meeting. Another congratulations goes out to Jonathan Orndorff for his win. What an incredible race tonight, guys. A lot of fun to watch for sure.
Thank you.
I know Bugs was going to say thank you for the broadcast, but he took way too long. He took way too long for the thank you for the broadcast. I don't want you to thank you for the broadcast.
He did take a little long there, didn't he? He should have come out with that up front.
You didn't thank us fast enough. There you go.
So for those, again, uninitiated, everybody knows you thank your sponsors up front. You always thank the sponsors up front. Then you thank the broadcasters, then you thank the audience, then you go into what you're saying. So, Bugs, I love you. If you want some pointers on how to interview, I'm here for you. I'm here to help. See, well, here's how I would approach the interview. Gotta say the 81 Liquid Death Chevrolet Impala was great tonight. Got a good field. Want to thank Liquid Death for being on the car. Got to thank you guys for putting on the show and everybody out there. It was a tough race, and I just finished with 3 wheels, and we'll get them next week.
There you go.
That's how you do it.
That is how you do it. Well, I can say I am a huge fan of underdogs in this league running in the top 5, 10, whatever, let alone win a race. So, yeah, it's a little emotional to see those guys win because I know for a fact those guys, when they started this season, they did not think they would make it to victory lane. A lot of these guys are really, really hard on themselves, and especially last week's winner, Nick Sargent, very hard on himself about it. It's like, and that's my parting words for that is we've watched that over and over again. It reminds me of like a Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch situation at Darlington. Like they made contact off the corner, but if Favignano was that 1/10 more faster, it wouldn't have been a problem to begin with. And Favignano, after the fact, and I talked to him after the race, after the broadcast, him and Nick are cool. And number 2, he thought it was like, he finds humor and he finds he's like, congrats to Nick for the win, like he wants to extend that part of him, even though it sucks to lose and to get a crash like that happen at the end. Nick wasn't trying to drive the car into him. He gassed up into the corner and then he got in the brakes really hard, a little too late. But I've seen that ending so many times and they brushed the wall and it wasn't as bad as a lot of people were making it out to be, but it goes to show how much heart and passion and emotion goes into these races and these individuals that are behind the wheel of these virtual race cars.
First and foremost, racing is a sport of the heart. Racing is a sport of emotion. Racing is a sport of that you run with not with your mind, not with your body, but with your emotions first and foremost. And anyone who gets behind a wheel, virtual, real, or otherwise, will tell you the only thing they're thinking about is going fast and being able to compete for the win. That's just human nature. We all want to compete. We all want a challenge. We all want to be number one, no matter what we do. And anyone who tells you different is a blatant liar. And I will be the first to call myself out on that. That being said, you always want to have that fairy tale ending. You want to have that. You want to be able to root for the underdogs. You want to see them win. You want to see them challenge, especially because this can be so demoralizing. You put your heart into it. You put your soul into it every week after week. And for what? To continue to see yourself get splattered and lost by everybody behind you? It can be very demoralizing. So, especially after the couple of weeks we've had here in the OCRP iRacing League, it is really cool. It is really fun to watch the underdogs get their moment in the sun, get their big win, get their victory, and be able to celebrate the progress they've made throughout this season and the seasons before. It is so wonderful to see all of that, and it makes me excited to see what happens next.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. Thank you for joining us here tonight at Michigan for the OCRP ARCA series at Michigan. We're going to raid Mr. West the Mess 88, leading the points right now in this series at a 1 race suspension. Just go show him some love. I know he's doing NIS tonight, and wish him some luck there from all of us. That's going to do it for us here at Michigan. We'll see you guys next week for more racing action in the OCRP ARCA series. Have a great night.